Alright guys, on Cast with the Hyperloop. So today's actually a continuation of pretty much the last one, but it's going to be on pretty much a different note. So the last one I talked over about, I Rebel's article about organized play and how it needs to get better and whatnot. And then I talked about the cease and desist. Then went to Artificery. But shortly after the vlog, or at least some point throughout the day, Pro Yeti or Sean from Artificery had put out a set of tweets. And I guess first I should apologize because it is raining, so I don't know if you can hear the wipers at all, but yeah, sorry. I'll try to speak a bit louder, and I hope that's okay. Sorry. But this is like time constraint, and I can't record this while I'm at work, so sorry. But anyway, so he puts out a set of tweets, and they really go over the current downfalls, and like what we realistically need to make Destiny thrive, or attempt to get back to kind of where it was and continue to be strong. Otherwise, it's looking like we're going to be playing a dead game at some point. So, my mind is completely blanking, and I can't even tell you the 1 through 4, but they're going to be in the article, which I'd assume you'll have seen to connect to these set of videos. If you started from the first video, second, third, then you'll see the article down at the bottom, and I'll break down his tweets and stuff there. And I agree with a lot of what was said. I think there are some things that aren't necessarily the greatest or really kind of possible at times, because there's different aspects going on. But one of the ones that he mentioned was definitely the ability to have like a starter deck that's actually usable to play in tournaments. And now the big thing here is that, and I don't know if it was clarified or not, but the entry barrier for a new player is really tough, because if you only go something like Trilogy, then they only have access to the new stuff. You're forcing them to buy boxes or specific cards that aren't that great. If you go Standard, then they're going to be playing against everything that's quote unquote broken, and all the strongest in the format. So assuming that we are not trying to restrict new players in the entry barrier to just people who have money and will throw it at the game to get exactly what they want, we do need something in the budget setup categories. Now, Knights of Ren, Sugi did do something similar to this, probably like a month or a few months back, where they were putting out $50 budget decks. Now, in general, those budget decks did go through Cool Stuff Inc. and whatever it was like buying it from Cool Stuff. So, like, sure, there were advertisement stuff to it, but in general, the specifics behind it were definitely great, because at least the first few, where they gave legitimate decks that you could get and build for under $50. And realistically, if someone's starting into a game, they buy a starter deck, that's $15. They buy like 10 packs, we're looking at another 30 to 45, where like that right there is realistically the equivalent to just buying the entire deck. Now, sure, you buy one entire deck, you kind of get stuck with it, you kind of just have to continue playing it. But on the flip side, if you buy a starter deck in 10 packs, you probably can't do jack shit with it. So where do you kind of draw the line? And realistically, I think entry barrier for players like that, and just $50 starter deck stuff setups are actually very great. If we could realistically, I guess, talk to any of the bigger stores, so like Cool Stuff, Mini Market, whatever, and they could actually get stuff kind of packaged together, like that, even if they only have like a few in stock, like in theory it should get rid of some of their excess inventory, unless they're just low on cards. But they could actually pre-package a lot of that stuff and probably give a little bit extra of a discount, because realistically, rares that go for, you know, $2 or $3 aren't often worth the $2 or $3. They just have to put a price in order to make their money back. But if we're talking about like an entire you know, starter content set, and you know, content creators and stuff are like, hold on a second, my worker's stupid. Brain fart, sorry. She was complaining about organization, and I just got messed up real bad. So yeah, like, they could get stuff set up. They could probably make some of those $50 decks for like 40, or squeeze in a few extra, you know, $3, $4, $5 cards, just like 2 or 3, and still have like that $50 price tag. Could go a long way to some of this stuff, but that's neither here nor there. That's like kind of just cutting corners and whatnot, and that's actually just much harder. So I think the whole like get the budget deck stuff set up and capable of being purchased in carts from the big online sales vendors or whatever, I don't know what the hell word I'm saying using anymore, is actually a very, very solid thing, because it's probably too hard and would take too long for FFG to actually make viable starter decks. There is a crap ton of red tape for FFG to get stuff approved, because it has to go through Lucasfilms or Disney or whatever the hell that is, or Asmodee. I don't know the full set, but there's a lot of red tape. So like, they could go for something right now and we don't see it for 6 months, and we need right now. So today's pretty much entire video is going to be talking about like what we can do right now, and pushing those tweets forward so Asmodee and FFG can realize that things are not good. Like, we had a great game, we had a lot of stuff going. They seem to cannibalize their own games over and over and over, which really isn't great, because that's kind of how you lose people. Like, sure, you get new people in, but yeah, they're just gonna stay at the small time base with that, and realistically isn't the goal to be huge. So yeah, so the whole like starter deck thing and trying to lower the entry barrier for newer players is definitely a huge thing. Also, if remotely possible, getting local event or like the player sets to kind of like just, if the top players agreed not to play certain things at the beginning or with new players, then that's one way of kind of lowering that barrier. Like the newer player can feel much closer in games, and not like, oh, Seven Sister did this untapped thing and killed my, you know, 21-point Vader that I just bought. Or actually, just realistically killed my 19-point Obi because it's a rare and it's cheap and I just bought those. And like that just doesn't feel good. And like, so the RRG just gave the changes to Maul Saber and Running Interference, which help scale back the negative playing experiences caused by them. But the deck still exists. Like, people are still going to complain about whatever. And like, the big thing about right now and retweeting this stuff and you know, sending emails to Asmodee, FFG, whomever, is that this clearly happens. They've clearly become aware of public outcry on certain cards in general, in order for them to make changes. And sure, it took some time, but that also means that they're willing to listen and kind of cave. So if they're willing to listen and cave, we need to get them to adjust if realistically we think there are things that can actually make the game better. The end result is that they want profit, because like, us loving them doesn't necessarily matter as much as us making sure we don't leave the game so we still buy stuff from them. And I'm not saying this is some sort of threat, I'm just saying, like, from a business perspective, is shareholders and making them money. So anything that we're going to really suggest, we have to take in consideration the fiscal or the monetary things that come with it. Because if they can do things without a huge increase in price, I guess, then it would be more like, you know, they'd be more apt to actually listening. But if we sit there going, you know, give us these crazy things, this should be great, blah, 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 then it's not going to be amazing. But now, what if, because one of the things I saw on the set of tweets was that L5R, or Legend of the Five Rings, has like a $12 kit, and then they have like a $100 kit. Now, the thing I don't understand about this, and I should have probably checked in, are those $1,200 kits the cost to the store to buy them? Because if that's the cost of the store to buy them, then it's like, oh, well, like, what store at this stage is going to buy a $100 kit? It just doesn't seem super likely. In theory, if they made a $100 kit and stuff got sold on, you know, the secondary market, then it may make sense to, because like you have collectors buying stuff. So if the prices of the items reach to the point where the kit was auto met for value, then there are ways to get kind of like player bases to pay enough to be able to do that, because they can make a profit on it. But that's the competitive players, and realistically the intent here is to get the casual players into a much better position. So I don't know about $100 kits being good for casuals, but it would get players to events. And the big thing right now is getting players to events. Something that he had spoke about had resonated with me quite a bit. So they had, you know, for winning this like pretty much alt art card, you know, the Orabeshes at the beginning, then we had like the fins and the jetpacks and isolations and stuff. And then they had tokens. So like, all right, you know, Q1's 1 damage, Q1 is resource, Q2 is like 1 damage, Q3 shields, Q4 is the 3 damage. And like, okay, set's done. And now when we get to the next rotation, they do the same shit again. Who the fuck wants all these goddamn tokens? You can get them printed and just buy them. Like, collectors want them, sure. But are collectors paying more than $10 for these quarter 1 resource tokens that are kind of like MIA right now? No. So want people to probably pay about $5 to go play an event to win this $10 item. Think about it from like any of the grinders' perspectives. Why the fucking hell would we waste our time? We don't. I was trying to play in every local that I had when I had jumped into the game, every single one, for a really long time. I stopped when this one specific thing occurred. We had a double kit event. It was $10 a person. I ended up winning. I got one set of like damage or the card, whatever one I wanted. It was the same thing I got for the $5 one. The double kit just meant that they put out to 8 people. There were no additional packs, no additional nothing. And like realistically, I do understand, because I own businesses, that businesses have to make profit. But you have to give the free cocaine that first time, so the person gets addicted to it and then comes back for more. Ringing out your player base does not float. Not at all. And as an explanation, I went to a box event a couple weeks ago in Connecticut at Gilt Leaf Games. And these guys were phenomenal. So we only had 10 players for the event. And I probably shouldn't have said this first, but it was a box event. And it was $10 to play. And they gave a box to first. They gave, I think, like half a box to second, and they broke down stuff. But the rough breakdown of what they were giving away was about 2.5 boxes. So you think, all right, 2.5 boxes. If we go by cost, which is, you know, in that $60 range, that's $120. So if they just want to do it for free, you know, they're going to need 12 people minimum. They put that they only required 8 to give up that entire set of stuff. 8. So they went in knowing, or they went in willing to take a loss if only 8 people showed up. Absolutely willing. And now, sure, more established places necessarily may not be willing to do this, because from what I've seen, most stores, Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh, whatever, kind of abuse the crap out of their customer base. Big amounts of money to play. Prizes are you know, whatever. They're like, you know, top shifted or packs or whatever. But a lot of the time it's like, all right, you know, a percentage cut went to the store and then the other stuff went out as packs at face value. And when I started card games, that was not how shit was run. When I started card games, it was like full value was given, essentially. It actually might have been, it was increased value, I think. was given as store credit, because the theory there was that if you got store credit and you couldn't enter tournaments with it, you could only buy product. All product that you bought had a profit margin on it. So if you theorize what your minimum profit margin was at all, that like on any single item, you could boost the credit by that amount and always be relatively safe as far as it evened out. And you just treated entries at that point as you selling product. So you made that profit margin. You gave up space. People played. They come back. They buy drinks. Whatever. Blah blah blah. It adds up. I no longer see that nearly as much. Maybe it's the cost of minimum wage increasing over here, because we went from I think $8 to $11 an hour over the course of 3 years, and that happened a few years ago, probably like 5, and it happened gradually. But yeah, so maybe it's that, maybe it's not, but the stores that aren't willing to kind of do things to grow the community well, are just going to have the game die out. Most of the places have had games that the game die out. There have been phenomenal store owners that kind of understand the concepts, or they're just gamers at heart and they kind of do what they think should be done. And so there's sometimes a mix in between, because sometimes those guys go out of business because they don't make enough profit. So like it's tough because the business is run to be profitable. But like there's varying stages, and since I'm not a card shop owner, I can't even begin to really give the sets of the amounts of money and face value there, because you're gonna have people like me that just come in, they play, they spend their store credit. I buy top loaders and sleeves from time to time, the occasional board game, but I'm not the guy buying 8 boxes from my local gaming store. But I used to be the guy that bought 8 boxes from my local gaming stores when there were kind of sufficient discounts, is how I would say it. Another issue that we had, and most people probably remember this, is so back during set 1-2, God damn it, I feel like I'm complaining again, but I want to explain this point. Back during set 1-2, it was really hard to get the boxes, and they were like selling out, and then they would take a while to come in. So a lot of stores were either increasing prices or kind of only selling at MSRP because they were just trying to wring every piece of dollar value out. And it's like, all right, well, to an extent this is kind of fine, but you kind of burn your own customer base at times. When a good person goes to their local gaming store, for the most part, they're going to attempt to give loyalty, or local gaming stores would like loyalty, but at the same time, you can't charge $108 for a box and then tax, when you know for a fact this person can go online and buy them for like $85 or $90. It's try to do something, cut it down to like 95 or whatever. Like give them like some real reason to buy at the local gaming store. Like, we want to love you guys, we want to support you guys, but there's also varying levels. Like, am I going to give you $100 for free when I buy my 6 boxes and they costed me, $18 more? And that's before tax, because we all know that most people who buy online don't end up paying tax and then don't claim it on their taxes. You should. It's illegal. But yeah, so like, how many of us would just walk up and be like, oh, here's $100, Jim, you're a great store owner, like, just free. Most of us don't even want to do that shit with our own, like, siblings and loved ones. Fuck out of here. So like, it's, I don't know. I don't know if any store owners would watch or hear this, and whether they would care or not, or players would even want to speak with people about it. But it is a relevant matter. Trying to discuss stuff like this can be tough at times, because it's hard to play both sides, and I try to do my best for it, but it's always going to be difficult. For the most part, I'm used to business in this one theory where you have essentially infinite supply, and you could give a discount to somebody because they're a repeat customer that you don't give to other people. And let's say your $10 profit margin becomes $5 or $7. It's not a huge issue, because if they weren't going to buy it from you, then what was the benefit anyways? So like, sure, you could make that $10 profit margin that one time when the person couldn't get it anywhere else, but if you made the 7 there, the theory is that they would return, and you would make another 7 and another 7 and another 7, and it would build up over time. So it's really hard to determine whether to alienate or like where that line is, but it kind of has to be determined. But so I went on a fucking tangent, and that's my normal shtick, because that's how I like my brain operates for the most part. So going back, we have to get events that matter. They have to matter to the players to make them want to come out. They have to matter, or they have to be accessible to brand new players. And now days and time and spacing issues is a whole other ball game, and kind of that's on stores. So event-wise, like what events, and help me out here, people, because I'm not the greatest at this, and I have like an idea or two, so I'll explain those. But like, what events can we essentially run that would be beneficial to the new player, and have a relatively good reason for the older players or competitive players to come out and play this. One of the things that happened quite a bit was leagues. A lot of people like leagues. They're fun. They do whatever. So, new set comes out, whatever, okay. Everyone gets, a starter, some packs. You can, let's fucking ignore color stuff. We can ignore, like, play restrictions or whatever. And every week you could, get a few packs to add to this pile. You could either register the piles, you could, like, depending on, like, your prize structure, you probably have to register the piles. But league setups like that sound, potentially very viable. I've also had leagues where people kind of mixed up rules. So, okay, you have to have a hero and a villain. Okay, it's 40 points, 40 cards. Legacy only. Awakenings and EAW only, blah, blah, blah. Now, the specific event ones are much more restrictive to newer players, so I actually dislike that one immensely. I do not mind, though, or I really think that the, like, starter deck and 5 packs could be really good, or, assuming that the store has no inventory for singles for the game, because that's actually what occurs with us, could have, I don't know, any set of their, a specific set of characters. You start with one of them, and then, 10 packs or whatever. So, like, yes, your deck might be complete shit. And this is where it gets tough, because without the starter stuff, it's always going to be tough like this. Because it's really hard to make a complete deck. But yeah, like, the league setups in theory sound like a great idea. As long as you're making sure that you don't make the restrictions a bad entry barrier for newer players. One of the other items I was thinking about was, so let's say we get new players in, we point them to these budget decks, so we get them set up. The top players try to scale back a bit on what they're playing, maybe play like tier 2 stuff, tier 3 stuff, whatever, and this will always be tough because you have to get everybody on the same game plan, and all it takes is that one person who's just like, no, to kind of mess all that up, and make people, just make everything fail. But one theory is the prizing structure output. So now let's say it's $5 to enter, okay? And now we all know that a pack is $3, and realistically it's probably, it's like $1, a little bit more than $1.50 per pack at wholesale. So they're essentially, making almost similar profit. Now, if we have the packs essentially sold at $2.50 each, no tax, because the way that this is going to break down. So every person that enters, 2 packs is entered into the prize pool. So now, let's say you have that smaller smaller, set of people. We're going to use 10. I know it's realistically a lot of players have like 6 and 8s and stuff like that. But let's say we're at 10. We've got some new players. We got stuff going. So 10. So we have 20 packs in the pool. And now this is what we used to do in my Star Wars Minis days. We would crack all the packs at the end and put all the stuff out. Rares, uncommons, commons, whatever. We just lay them all on a table. And then by standing is how we would go and we would pick them. So now, what would happen is the people who got first, second, third, whatever, because we cracked 20 packs, there's most likely going to be at least 3 legends. So first gets to pick, the best legend or whatever. Or maybe there's a $15 rare that they want. So this person's paying, the competitive player is paying $5 to potentially get, $20, $30, $40 legends. And they're like, okay, this is great. Second, third, still get, their some stuff that's not even participation trophy level. And now what happens here is that everyone else also gets something. So the new player doesn't feel as bad about pretty much donating $5 to the winner because it's not donating $5. They get to go back and pick again. And now what you could do is you could either continue back again and order from the top again, or you could, kind of snake around so that the weaker players get more stuff. But you're guaranteeing every player to get a minimum of essentially 2 rares, which is the same value as cracking a pack. So better players got better stuff, and the weaker players still got stuff from the pool that they wanted. I'd prefer in like smaller ones, I think, to probably wheel back, no matter what, but who knows. But anyways, so this would help A, build collections for new players, B, give a reason for competitive players to come out, because now if we have, 15, 20 people, if we get 18 people, we're cracking an entire box. So this helps build their collection and get situated and closer to having the key cards that they would want, especially, when new sets come out. Or just having money cards in general. So it builds the collections of essentially everybody here. The newer players don't feel as bad about playing because it's the same price as if they had just bought 2 packs. So they didn't get to crack, the Yoda and Keep It per se, but no one would have known what their packs were anyways. So pretty much it gives them stuff, and a lot of the time what you'll find is the players who have already everything, if they have their full collection, like if there's a Yoda, they're probably taking the Yoda. But let's say that person in second or third is looking at something like an AF or a Greedo and already has them. It's a $10 card. They don't, or at least me, I don't care about that at that point. So like, unless I just don't have them, I'll let somebody else take it. I'll go take like the easy picking, because that's like $8, or Force Illusion, or Caution. Like, there's always going to be that key uncommon that's going to be, worth some value. And the fact of the matter is, I have to build multiple decks, and I have a team. So if anyone's short something, or we each have 2 decks built, but then we're short in easy pickings here, fast hands over there, whatever's going on. For me, that's a huge way to make the whole pricing structure not as bad. The store still generates their profit via the sale. It's sure it's at a discount, but it's really only like 15% off. So if we think of $250 per pack, we're at 72 plus 18. We're at 90. It's like selling a box at $90, and that's just not that bad. Like, they still have their profit margin, which is probably about 50% now. Assuming they paid 60 with the shipping and all the other stuff, they've got 90 instead. So like, it's reasonable. And trying to make stuff quote unquote, winnable for everybody is definitely how I would see the best output, at least in my mind. I feel like that method would go over much better with owners and hopefully players, and like, it's always going to be tough trying to determine, and that level balance is hard. But the Star Wars Minis game had gone on for a long time, and I knew people that used to drive an hour and a half to come down and play. This was the price structure that they had out. I used to, win or get top 3 very often, and I used to play other games to get credit to go play in this thing, because I knew I was just sinking money straight into the store, and that was perfectly fine. I enjoyed the game, and it helped build my collection, because when I started, I didn't have much of anything. I got the exact pieces I needed for my team, and it helped me build stuff out. I ended up having a ginormous collection at the end, because I was, always getting top cuts, or the top portions. But it's great. You also have those people who have like their deck list, their checklists, and they're just missing a card or two. So, they skip out on that Yoda because they need that Maul, because they just don't have it. So, second place gets the Yoda now. It's like, oh shit, this is great, or the ancient lightsaber, or whatever's going on. So, I definitely view that more favorable than some of the other options, because like $100 kits, I don't, if it's the store paying $100, and it's not just that the kit's worth $100 and then it was sold super discounted, because I don't know how they determine the value on this. I don't see stores doing that at all at the beginning, not one bit. So the big thing here is to make the entry barrier for newer players much easier. You need to you have to make it so that the store owners would have a reason to do this stuff. Realistically, sure, we could try to tell the store owners to take a hit while, we try to get people in. That's just not likely to really happen. They'd either have considered it already and probably done it, or they just won't do it. So, you could feel free to try it, but, at least in the theory that I gave with the packs, they're still making profit. It hopefully should get new players in, do the different stuff, and this is just one man's theory on something that he's done before. So maybe I'm wrong, maybe you guys have better ideas. Another thing is so modified starters. And now, I would say the better players are probably the ones that realistically should be doing this. I don't particularly have a bunch of time right now with Worlds, but I can take a look at the stuff. Look at the current starters and see what we can modify them to make them as viable as possible in a budget format. NJ Cuenca, one of the other Hyperloops, did this quite a bit with the 2-player starter, the Kylo Phasma decks, and the different things that would spawn from it. I don't know if that's been done with the whole Boba Veteran starter or the Luke Han starter, but there should be definite ways to make the adjustments to those with minimal cost to make them viable enough. Sure, you're not going to sit there and expect to realistically, bust up vehicles or Yoda Hondo with some of these at times. But if you can win 1 in 3 games instead of 1 in 40, it's much better there. And there's a lot of cheap shit too. Jedi Robes is one of the old school cards that everyone has tons of. The things were less than 50 cents each, and we hated them. But they're really strong cards. It's a 2-cost card, so you can play it without having to worry about ramping. They got 2 resources if they started with it. They got 1 otherwise. It helped regenerate their resources back, or gave them focus to fix their dice. So that's huge, and it's real cheap. We don't have to tell them to go grab Ancients. Sure, Ancients are better damage-wise, but there's always going to be cheap options available. So I think if we take another look back at the starters and see how we can modify them to be much more playable at a cheap budget, then someone could buy a starter and maybe toss in 15 or 20 bucks to make it viable enough. So hopefully we'll get something like that going sometime between now and Worlds. We do have to write some articles, so maybe take a look at it. Maybe NJ Cuenca will take a look at it. I'll suggest it. I'm not the greatest budget theory guy. I am good at thinking off meta shit, but that's a lot of stuff I don't really mess with. So going back again, it's not just that organized play has failed us. We've let it happen as well. I'd say the metas that are thriving are chock full of people who push the game hard. They know what they want. They've talked to owners. They have good store owners, and got stuff situated. The people that are getting 10, 15, 20 people multiple days a week, stuff like that, are definitely doing a great service to the community. Over here, we're terrible. A lot of it is, think for yourselves. I've seen new players at several of the events over time. I try to make an active effort to, get them onto the Facebook groups and stuff like that. Some of these people don't have Facebook. Some of these people don't use Reddit. That's actually one of the other things. We are too disconnected as a community. We've got people on Discord. We've got people we got people just on Discord. We've got people just on Reddit, just on Facebook. We've got people that only check, the websites of their locals for these game things. And that's also pretty bad. We have to figure some way of coordinating or grouping people much better than it's currently being done. I know that there's several play groups in Massachusetts alone, and they all check different shit. So one set of people check the Battlegrounds website. Battlegrounds is one of our local gaming stores. Some people will check the Facebook for toys and things in Danvers. People will check, Gaming Etc. Stopped doing the game a while back. And then we had like a bunch of small-time stores trying to do stuff, but it's really tough to get the word out because there's so many ways to do things now. It's a lot. And we can't really rely on the stores to do it themselves. We do have to help out. We have to, push it on the Facebook groups, on the Reddits, on the, one second. This guy was, pulled over. I thought he smashed into, the sign thing. The Reddits, we have to get them to post on their own calendars sometimes. As much as we can blame organized play, we can also often blame ourselves. How many of us actually push for some of this stuff? I know that I'm pushing for it again. I know I pushed for it at the beginning. I knew I gave up at times. I didn't try hard enough. But am I the only one to blame? No. But do I have to take some of it? Yes. So we as a community have to get together, group up, and kind of get this going again. It's a great game. To me, it's like crazy chess where the board changes, can change, any few actions, and I think that's amazing. Sure, probability and fortune get favored at times, or unfavored. You're gonna have bad beats, but that happens in anything that it has any sort of luck equivalent. Chess is the only game, it's one of the few games where it's entirely skill. So our game's going to have luck. It's going to be what it is. But we can definitely do our part to get newer players in, make them feel, kind of comforted, give them an easier way into the game, point them in the right directions, yada yada. So it's definitely something we need to take part of. Hi. And I and everybody else need to do their part. So one of the things I'm going to ask from you guys, and I try not to ask from anything from you guys, I just talk about stuff, is if you can go on Twitter if you have it, check out Artificery, ARTIFICERY, and they have that post, and there's essentially a formula, and I'm going to put it in the article. Tweet at FFG, Asmodee, everything. Let them know, that we love this game, and we do need stuff going so that we can have it grow. Any thoughts or ideas, feel free to share. There's lots of great stuff coming out. There's it's tough. It's tough. But we have to I don't know the words I'm saying. We have to bond together. We have to show community effort on this one, and and let them know that we love the game, but they have to get their shit together. Not knowing when a set's coming out, a release in January into a draft thing in February that's supposed to be around the same time, into no release for 5+ months, 6 months, kind of unknown, is no. They need to fix that shit. Not saying to threaten to quit, but how many people have we lost to this, you know? And then we have to get stuff done in our local scene. We have to drive it there. I'm also thinking, I don't know who's done how to play Destiny videos. I'd assume Team Covenant had something going at some point. And probably there's some seriously old videos, but we can kind of make new ones to talk about, you know, how the game is played, kind of quick breakdowns on how, you know, the how-to, like, learn to play Destiny. You know, potentially break down the rules reference guide a bit better for newer players. It's all about newer players right now and maintaining the old ones. We need to maintain the old ones so that we're not decreasing, and then we need to get new ones in so that we're growing. Because if we don't get new ones in and we only decrease, then we're eventually going to die. If we get new ones in but then lose old ones, we have to increase the number that we're getting in order to be sufficient. And it's really hard as you lose people to get new people and get them to stay. Like, we all make these impulse buys, and impulse buys are probably one of the bigger things. A gentleman that I know by Jack in the local scene, I talked to him on Facebook. He came back out for, I think, like the set 4. There was like the 5-person who played games. He bought a box. I haven't seen him since. Part of it's my own fault. I need to talk to him, let him know what's going on, different stuff. But he was playing again. He likes cracking packs. It's a good game, but it's very tough on all of us in general. For like event timings, different stuff. In Florida, our teammate Andrew, or Reflex, says he goes to shit like 5 times a week. 5 times a week. I can barely play once a week. This motherfucker gets to go to 5. And I don't mean 5 of like 4 players. I'm pretty sure they get upwards of 10+ players 5 times a week around the state. That's obscene. I wish we had that shit. That's what I used to do when I played Yu-Gi-Oh! And Magic. So, we gotta do something if we want to get this game to survive and thrive, because we don't want it dying. So, check out the rest of the article. I don't exactly know what to write on Twitter, but I'll get the formula down. You know, if you share the same thoughts as everybody else, then get in on there. You know, we've got to let them know what's going on. Their organized play Twitter has like 5,000 followers. 5,000. Like, how many of us play this fucking game for there to be 5,000? Like, if we get in there, follow, tweet, hopefully, pretty much enough bitching, and they'll try to get their shit fixed. Know that they've essentially messed up, and there's room to grow. On a side note, if those kids had some spot gloss type cards, how many of us would fucking go? And they don't need to charge much for this shit, because I don't know what the expected, you know, the Galactic Qualifier setups were, but I'd assume those spot gloss cards do not cost much to make. So if weekly events had spot gloss cards and they were at cheap value, I know I'd be going. They probably wouldn't be worth as much, but they're cool looking, and that's where part of it is. The Oravesh cards were just kind of shitty. Like, who the hell wants these cards in a language that most people can't understand? The alt arts were sometimes cool. Really like the hidden, the Holdout Blaster look, but once again, it doesn't come with the die. So it's like, alright, you know, this is a waste, but like, cool character cards, cool battlefields, actually good looking stuff. I guess you'd have to do plots, because those things are actually really thick. You can't run them in a deck. So it'd pretty much only be character cards. in like what battlefields and plots that I can think of. But those would be awesome. Like, they're much better than little crappy acrylic tokens. So for the most part, I think that's all I can really think of. If I remember anything else or think of anything, I'll write it in the article. So skim through it. And I thank you for listening to 45 minutes of me ranting. So let me know thoughts, concerns. Let's try to get this stuff going, guys, ladies. And let's make this game great again. I feel like I shouldn't have used that one, but let's try it anyways. Hashtag Rally Aid. We're calling for a hashtag Rally Aid. Honest Sarcastic with the Hyperloops. You guys have a good one. Thanks for listening and watching. Deuces.